Okay, so we're gonna talk about Antarctica. I've been I've been thinking about this for a while. I think I've done videos on this before, but fuck it, let's do it again. So, scientists are always going to Antarctica, right? And they're finding things. And one of the main things that I've always heard is that during the Ice Age, Antarctica didn't have ice. I believe that. I 100% believe that because of what I know about the Northern Hemisphere. Why do I think Antarctica didn't have ice? Well, currently the ice sheet forms on the Northern Hemisphere over the Arctic Ocean, a little bit of like Alaska, Canada, Russia. Like it's formed mainly over that puddle of water, right? During the Ice Age, that same ice sheet was forming over Canada. Ice was 6 miles thick. It's exactly like Antarctica. And my supposition to you is that, okay, the cold spot moved from northern Canada to the middle of the Arctic Ocean. It went further north. Okay? There's a corresponding cold spot that's over Antarctica. For it to have, it would move corresponding to this. And I looked at a globe, and the place that cold spot would be is between Antarctica and Australia, kind of like a 45-degree angle. So, like, Antarctica and Australia would have the same fucking orbit, basically, around the cold pole. Meaning that both of those would have significantly different climates. Australia would probably not be a fucking desert. Not if it was in a temperate zone like that. And the accounts of what I've heard was on Antarctica was fucking, if I could think, it was rainforest. Now, if you could conclude that like 10,000 years ago, it was probably a little further north than it is now too. Who knows? Like, I don't know how far that continent's moved in 10,000 years. Like, one thing you should get is plate tectonics is a fucky thing. And yes, the rate of change over the millennia is constant. But you should know some of that change can happen in a day. We've seen it. Plate tectonics can move things fast. I don't fully understand that shit, and I don't think anyone really does. But at the same time, all of that has shit to do with what we're talking about too. Because, like, I'm not sure exactly what caused the cold spot to shift, but it did. Like, I've always bought into the pole shift thing because of this. I don't know what causes the pole shift. I don't know anything really about that. Like, we could get into theories. I have theories. The comet impact at the end of the last ice age, the whole Younger Dryas impact. Let's say it hit us at an angle. That could fucking maybe cause a pole shift. There's shit about like our atmosphere and fucking internal workings of our planet that could cause a pole shift, maybe. I don't know. My main supposition is I think we're going through another one right now. I think that's what's going on and why everyone's all weird. I think the Mayans predicted this shit. And, you know, it's one of those, like, everyone made fun of the 2012 Mayan apocalypse. I think we were off on the year, first off. And second off, I think the translation of what they thought was going to happen was not like the world's going to go kaboom. Like, I hate talking to my grandmother because I say the world's going to end. And she thinks that, I mean, the world's going to go kaboom. The world is not going to go kaboom. It's been here for a while. Like, her answer to that was, you don't know. And I'm like, no, I pretty much fucking know. Short of us nuking each other, nothing's going to go kaboom. And even if we nuked each other, the planet will be back to normal within a very short period. Like, within a decade, you wouldn't even fucking know the nukes had flown. That's no shit. There'd be big changes, whatever. It'd be less people. Animals would die off. Animals would be evolving and shit. But, like, whatever survived would be fucking rebuilding populations and shit within 10 years. If it didn't, the planet's dead. Also, the thing you should get is, while nuking a substantial portion of Europe would affect things, it isn't going to end it. There's going to be plenty of this planet left habitable. Europe will be a little uninhabitable for a minute. Maybe a long minute. Depends on how hard they nuke it. I think the real reason we go to Antarctica is because during the last ice age, there was a civilization on Antarctica that was at least akin to us in like the 1800s, I would say. Maybe 1700s, something like that. They were exploring the planet and had mapped everywhere. And pretty good maps, too, from what I can tell. The reason I say that is there's really, really old maps that show Antarctica free of ice. And some of the features on those maps we see in present-day Antarctica. And if that map is from 10,000 years ago, pretty accurate map, all things considered, considering how much the world changes. It's my supposition. The mammoths flash frozen and buried and shit have me very concerned, because from my way of thinking, the only thing that could have done that was the cold spot on the earth moving. Pole shift. And we know Antarctica didn't have ice and that Canada did. What would do that besides a pole shift? I think this is like nobody wants to fucking say the emperor has no clothes, but like this shit has been repressed on a scientific level for a long time. And I think the reason it has is because somebody at like the CIA basically knows we're kind of fucked and knows it's best for society not to fucking say anything, because they don't want everyone acting like your Aunt Ray Ray. Okay? And like this is why Russia and China are doing weird shit. A mix between that and like they're pretty stupid themselves. And they don't know what we're doing. I don't think the Russians or the Chinese know about the pole shift. Maybe the Russians do. The Russians act like it. The Chinese don't. The Chinese act like they don't have any fucking clue about what's going on. Which is odd, considering that they're usually unusually well informed. But this may be like they think their biggest issue is America, and America has been trying to fix the fucking pole shift issue for 70 years. Why does this pole shift matter to Russia? Because in the Ice Age, Russia was more habitable. Russia's getting more habitable. This is one of those things I think points to the pole is shifting back. All the rivers are running dry. This is another sign that the poles are shifting back. Like, I think you're going to see ice start to build and sea levels start to shrink. If my predictions about what's going on are true, which is so like 180 degrees opposite of what everyone else is saying, you're going to see the droughts get worse. You're going to see the rivers run dry more. You're going to see bugs going nuts. You're going to see a lot of shit. And like this is some of that stuff from the Bible that like, I don't know who was telling Moses shit. I kind of doubt it was the big G God at this point. I think it might have been one of the little G gods working for him or something like that. And this is where like I like Tolkien's universe because he has little G gods built into his universe with the big G god, and it makes the whole thing make way more sense. At least based on a real historical standpoint, based on what we know. Tolkien's universe is much closer to reality than anything I've ever fucking read. And I think Tolkien was writing it knowing this. Okay? I'm not saying the orcs and dwarves and hobbits and whatever, but like, go read the Silmarillion and listen to his version of Genesis and how the universe was created and how the earth came to be how it is. I think some of that shit that was said in myths, I don't know how it's true, but it is. It's not like it's exactly true. It's true in the same way that I asked God for an army worthy of Mordor, and everyone in Central and South America started walking north. It's true in the same way that, like, I did some drugs and talked to God and was bitching about the fucking stone table to Satan in Georgia, and the Georgia Guidestones blew up. Like, I don't know. Could just be coincidence. I don't think it is, though. I think we're watching a much larger story take place. And I think the Georgia Guidestones, I think those might have gotten blown up just because of a conversation God and I were having that evening. I was asking him for a sign that he was real. And I bitched about those things an awful lot. I said what I thought about them. And like the next morning I wake up and they're fucking gone. Coincidence. I'm choosing to have a little bit more faith as a result of that. I don't know. What I do know is that if Antarctica was like they said it was, hear me out. Australian DNA has been found in South America. The South American rainforest hides a civilization unlike the world has ever fucking seen. Very advanced. I say very advanced because there's technology that I've seen that come out of that place that I don't fucking understand. I don't mean electronics. I mean like the way they do the dirt, the way that they build things, the way they do their stonework. There's shit that happened in South America that I can't account for. And the DNA from that links back to Aborigines. Okay, they found Aboriginal DNA mixed in with the people that are still living amongst some of these ruins. They're like the hunter-gatherer tribes of fucking the Amazon. So why and how in the fuck is there Aboriginal DNA in the uncontacted tribes in the Amazon? Well, I would bet you a lot of money that this was a fucking civilization that spanned all over fucking Australia and Antarctica and even Lemuria, which a lot of people don't even know exists. But like Lemuria is all of the lands that sunk in the Ice Age for the most part, really. Like in the Pacific, there's a giant continent out there that I think it stands pretty good reason some portion of it was above water. All of the islands that you know of as Oceania are the mountaintops of that continent. So I think the Australian Aborigines are what's left of the hunter-gatherers that survived that apocalypse of that giant civilization. Now, as far as like, well, where's the structures and everything in Australia? That was run by the British Empire. If they found anything, I think they probably kept it to themselves. So I would go out and look in that big-ass desert that Australia has. There's probably fucking pyramids out there. It's no shit. We already know they were talking to Egypt a long time ago. Like, this is the thing, is I think basically what the civilization we're talking about is the pyramid building civilization. And I believe Antarctica is full of fucking pyramids. If I had to guess, that's probably where the biggest part of that civilization was. Or some shit. I think it's weird that it got frozen. And I think that these pyramid builders, I think they were human or humanoid. They were human enough that you and I would say they were human. But to hunter-gatherer, tribesmen, cave people living in wherever, Russia, North America back then, or Europe, when they came and visited in some sort of flying machines, I think they might have thought they were gods. I think this is where a lot of the ancient aliens crap comes from. And this is why, like, on the Roswell ship and a lot of other shit, there's supposedly symbols that are Greek symbols. I think maybe the Greek language and culture came from these people in their flying machines. Maybe. And the real thing that scares me is the story says, and then the gods took to the sky when the flood came. So are the Greys, the Roswell Greys that we interact with, are they what's left over of this previous civilization that was advanced enough to go into space before the Ice Age? And, like, where do they live? I put it to you that living in Antarctica would make you look that way too, in some ways. Like, basically, living in Antarctica, you live in a spaceship. Everything we hear about these things is that they go in and out of the water. They are not aircraft exactly. They are craft that move through things, space, time, whatever. I think there's a lot of secrets hidden in Antarctica. There's just too many strange stories. And, like, I really am waiting for them not to be able to hide this shit anymore. And it seems like they are desperately trying to crack down on everything to the point where they control everything. And I think half of it is an information war. They don't want people knowing what's real and what's not. And I think we've been living in that our whole lives, basically. And it was after World War II, they decided, hey, we're not going to tell everybody this shit. We're going to give it a few years and, like, make some movies and shit and try to, like, get people to not freak out about what we're about to tell them. And then somewhere in this, we had big tech pop up, and they found out that there was a giant secret to the universe that fucking the Catholic Church and the U.S. government knew, that now they know, and it's to their best interest to keep that secret. This is where a bunch of shit is. Like, we live in a fucking world where, like, I don't even know if there's still dinosaurs on the planet. There very well could be. And the reason I say that is, oh, there's so much of this planet where no one goes. There's a lot of this planet where one group of intrepid individuals went there and stayed for a couple weeks and came back. There's still places on this earth that man hasn't seen. Especially white man in parts of Africa and parts of Asia. They're big places. Well, there's some parts of fucking North America where we probably could have uncontacted fucking tribes of Indians still hiding out. They'd have to probably be up in Canada someplace. They'd have to be like Canada, Alaska, hopping the border back and forth or something like that. And even then, I don't know if they'd make it. It would be cool to find like some uncontacted tribe like that. I watched Last of the Dogmen last night. Ever watched that movie? Like, I don't think that exactly could happen. But I think you would be surprised about what could be hiding in our own fucking backyards from us. And the thing that has inspired me in this too is the Harfoots and the fucking Rings of Power thing. Something like that could easily be living alongside us and we wouldn't even know it. I've been listening to way too many tales of the Canadian North too, and like there's a whole bunch of tales about like little people that live up there. That like I believe there's some sort of fucking hobbit thing that lives in the Canadian Northland that is in real small tribes that basically only goes around people to fucking steal shit. You know, I really can't blame them on that one. This is where like I kind of want to go form my own uncontacted tribe. Should pick a place that would be easy to live in, but yet is inhospitable to travel across. So it needs to have a lot of food, but it needs to kind of be someplace difficult to live. I don't know where that would be. The Pacific Northwest has the abundant food thing, and like in reality, there's that Alaskan coast area that goes down, like by Vancouver and all that shit. Ain't too many people that live in there, and the ones that do live in there are fucking like Salish and fucking what is that other tribe? I used to know it. I think it starts with a T. Anyway, it's a big Tlingit. That's it. It's a big Alaskan tribe that's right through there. But Salish is like Vancouver to Washington kind of area and blends in up there. And then like Tlingit tribe goes from like Vancouver all the way into Canada. And these are good people. These are people that would help you if they could. It would be interesting to fucking like get teepees and horses. Fucking maybe get really nice bows. Because you need something that you're going to be resupplying yourself, right? I don't know. It's probably a romantic notion. Anyway, Antarctica has always been a dream of mine to go to. But like every place I'd ever want to fucking see there, I have a feeling I'd get shot for walking to. They're real cautious about who they let go where there. I don't know what that's about. That has nothing to do with preserving the environment. Like, that's one thing you should get about these people is not a one of them give a fuck about the environment. So if they ever tell you they're doing something because of the environment, that's a fucking lie. I think there's probably an alien race or something living out on the ice sheet in a big cave. I think that the giant hole that fucking Admiral Byrd flew into. What if that wasn't a hole through time and space? What if that was, these guys have just hollowed out a significant portion of that ice sheet and or the rock beneath it, and like they've made themselves like a giant fucking like canyon city kind of thing. Like imagine if you made a city in the Grand Canyon, on the walls of the Grand Canyon. You had the tech to do that. That's kind of what I think they might have done. And the reason that I think that is like Admiral Byrd, when he flew through the big hole, said he entered a whole nother world. Well, if you flew through a big hole and entered New York City in a canyon, you would fucking say the same thing. That's the most plausible explanation I can come up with for that story. After really thinking about it for a while. The other one is that there's an interdimensional gateway there and he flew through it. That's possible. I don't think it's probable. I'm not sure that tech exists. So that's one of those like if that tech exists and if these alien fuckers have it, then that could be an answer too. But why would they put their gate there? I think it's much more likely that there's probably several locations of such gates on this planet, like one's over Skinwalker Ranch. And like, this is the thing where really we could have entire cities like in the sky floating over us in another dimension or hidden by some sort of cloaking mech. We wouldn't know it. And be like, well, what if it breaks down? Well, have you ever heard of the sky cities in China? They saw fucking skyscrapers in their clouds for a few days and then they disappeared. What if it breaks down? What would you see? Yeah. This is where, like, I think Elysium, the movie Elysium, is not that far off from some sort of reality. Just, it didn't dare occur to us that not a single one of us is in Elysium. We are all on the fucking planet in Elysium. That place really exists. And all of our leaders, I think, are desperately trying to get into that club. The You Never Die in Space Club. I think if they got up there, they wouldn't like it. That's my prediction. I think it's one of those, like, the grass is greener on the other side. Like, those people live forever, but they hate their lives. That's why they live in hell. God gave you the gift that is mortality, that is reincarnation, that is many things. You shouldn't want to live forever. You have your time and your place, and know that. Enjoy the time you have. Look forward to the next time. Living forever is a curse. I couldn't imagine a worse curse. See you guys later.